Hello everyone, welcome today to the first edition of Player Profiles, the RDYUP Player Profiles. I'm joined by the team captain of ViperEsports or Viper UK. His name is Alias, and thank you for joining me today, Alias.
Thanks for having me.
Alright, we'll get into the first question then. The first question will be, what team do you play for, and who is in that team?
Well, as you mentioned, I play for Viper UK, and on the team is myself, Alias. We got Rat King, we got RK, we got Stacks, we got Tedster.
Yeah, can you talk me a bit through sort of the team dynamics and maybe a bit about the roles? Don't give too much away because you haven't played your first game yet. I don't want to give
Oh,
teams an advantage.
yeah, obviously. Well, we've all been playing together I've been playing with Rat King for about 3, 4 months now, so we get along quite well. And just in general, I feel like the team we work really well together, as sort of as the great man Shocks once said, we're all each a finger on the same hand. Like we work together extremely well. Like our crossfires are fine. We flash each other out without thinking. Now it's very much what's the word, cerebral. Is that it? Like
Yeah,
we sort of
I think that's the word to use. Sort of inbuilt into you. It's sort of something that happens just naturally now. You're a
yeah.
unit, not individual players anymore. That's a problem a lot of teams have when they come in. Is obviously they're playing as individuals, not a unit. And it's good to hear that you guys are playing together. That's something that a lot of teams are going to need. We saw from the games that were played yesterday. People like Niall, GG, they were in a bit of a predicament from not just playing together. So that's good to hear. I'll get into the next question then. Do you have any rivals or anyone you think will put up a fight against you in RDYUP?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we've only really heard of like three teams. We heard of Tekka,
Hmm.
which I believe was it? Yeah, Tekka was one of the team members called Tedster. He played them at LAN, I believe it was Insomnia,
Yes.
and he also played them in ESEA Open, and apparently got absolutely destroyed. So it'd be nice to sort of beat them to get sort of revenge of them. Whereas we've only really heard of, besides that, Omen, which we don't really know too much about,
Yeah.
and Icarus, because one of Tedster's old teams used to scrim against an old Icarus lineup. I'm not sure if it's the one they have currently,
The
but
old
that's what he
Icarus
said.
lineup, I think, would have been 5 degree GG or something like that. I remember. I think I know who you're talking about. I'm pretty sure I know Tedster because I played in the Tekken team. I played against him. Not sure if I was in the roster at that
Oh,
time.
oh, really?
It might have been a different roster, but I think I used to play for Tekka, and I think they did play against him. So it's interesting to see. There's sort of a mini rival going on there. He's
Yeah.
not too invested in it. Hopefully, so it would be interesting
No,
to see.
he's like them. He's the least egocentric player I
I mean,
know.
that's always good to have, especially
Yeah,
in the
we
UK
we
scene.
don't. Yeah, we don't really hold any rivalries though. Like personally, I take each opponent as like their own challenge. Like everyone has their different sort of play styles. Like if you look at a team from Brazil, they play totally different to a team from like Denmark, for example. Like everyone's their own challenge in their own right, because it's just having to adapt to what's happening. That's the real challenge in CS. Is less about who can like aim better, which sometimes it does come down to that, but it's more about who can adapt to what's happening first.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. You can't play a static game when something's going on around you, and that's what a lot of teams will have problems with, especially teams that are not good at communicating with each other, don't necessarily flash each other in, stuff like you were talking about earlier. If they're not that unit, there's a problem. How do you adapt as a team if you can't adapt as an individual? But it's a very interesting perspective to get to. Drop into the next question. Can you tell me a little bit about each player in the team?
Oh, I actually wrote down notes before this, and I was like, I I struggled to keep it to like one or two lines as well.
That's fine. That's
Like,
fine.
but I've managed to keep it. So I'm gonna start off with Rat King. He's my sort of counterpart in terms of IGLing. So our team, we work in sort of, because we're from the UK, nothing can work without a coalition, apparently. So we have me and Rat King working in a coalition to like IGL the team and like lead it forward and such. But he hasn't really played on many teams for very long. Like he's very. I met him through like pugging, and I sort of pugged against him one game, and he was a very standout player. So I sort of talked to him about if he'd be interested in playing on a team. No, he's an absolutely like insane like fragger and AWPer, and he's just got such this amazing mentality. Like whereas most players would sort of not play CS all the time, he tends just to sit in deathmatch and just play loads. And then Tesla's just this amazing guy. Like he's this brilliant support player who has like zero ego. Like he's got good experience like playing on teams because he plays in for the uni league and he's playing on
Oh,
Derby
did
right
he
now.
play for Newell
No, he plays for
in
Derby Raptors.
the league? Newell, I think it's called.
Oh, I don't know.
Because I think that's the
I-
university league. Because I casted the game of that, so it's interesting to see that he's also playing on the Because there's a few university teams out there now, so it's interesting that he's not just playing with you guys. He's playing a lot. He's playing the game outside, which can help a player's mentality.
Yeah, well, he plays a different role in that as well. He plays more of he plays less support in that sense, but he tends to play the same positions, which I think is really good. But no, he's really good like getting people psyched up. Like um I think his plays TV is sort of just filled with like early round, like early game or like late game pause times where he'll just suddenly give this just amazing speech about how you're gonna win. Like he just gets the entire team like psyched up to play. It's brilliant.
Oh, that's a lot of a problem with teams that their mentality can be bad, but it's always good to have a player like that who's sort of the not I wouldn't say the father figure, but sort of the figurative leader in that sense when it comes to those sort of rounds where he can get the team hyped up and get them psyched, especially if they're down behind. I mean, it's again another good mentality that it seems your team have.
Yeah. Then we got RK and Stacks. They're the two youngest members of the team, but I'm going to start off with RK. He's like, I sort of compared him to like a young Irish Shocks. Like, he's just, his pistols are really good. Like, he can play passive, he can play quickly, he can rifle, he can AWP. Like, he can do almost any role, and he'll just get on with it. Like, he'll get like one or two kills in it. It's brilliant with any gun. So yeah, Stacks I haven't really like played with him that much. Like the first time I heard about him was when I casted one of his games in the Ecto League like ages ago. But I first watched him, he was a very good AWPer, but he's recently switched back to rifling and like is just in general come into his own element. He frags well. He knows like what to call, when to call. He knows what to smoke, when to smoke. He's just a very like in the moment player. Is brilliant. And like going back to like my earlier comparison about RK being like an Irish Shocks, Stacks is sort of the Scream counterpart to that. Like you put them on a site together, they can hold the site down, and it's beautiful to watch. Like when they're both in a clutch together, they just don't even need to talk to each other. They just know exactly what they're doing, which I love to see between them because it's just they've been playing together for so long now that they just instinctively just like bam, that it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of a mini faction within the team where they just know each other so well that they don't need to communicate with at all. And I mean that just clears up the comms so much, especially when you guys are on the other side trying to listen to things. They just know what's happening. They know what to call, when to call it, and that's again. It seems like you've got some really good players who have a great mentality. Have you said all your players yet? I can't
I
remember.
have,
Okay,
yes.
so next question's kind of sort of off that what you've just said. Who do you think the best player in your team is?
See, I have written down here that like saying that who the best player is kind of unfair. But then when I put this to like the team, they all said, "Can we just agree that Rat King's the best player?" I mean, he is. Like, I mean, I
It's
have
not,
my
yeah,
gripes with him about him being over aggressive and stuff, but his aim and like his potential and everything is just there. He's just one of the most naturally skilled players I've ever seen in my life.
yeah.
Like,
He's on the cusp. He's nearly there.
yeah, he's just amazing. Like, honestly, I'm gonna fangirl about Rat.
All right, what are your goals as a team in Ready Up then?
Well, our goals are really the same as everyone, obviously to win, but more than anything, we want to get our name out there because I
Yeah,
mean, we're sort of not very known. Like a lot of the teams in this, like I just want to build up some nice contacts with people within the scene who are like up and coming. Just want to make friends with everyone, to be honest, and get a nice like mentality going. Maybe find like a couple people to scrim every now and then, just to
yeah. I mean,
prepare for like
that's
lands and stuff more than
that-
anything.
that's what these tournaments are for, really. You know, you get the odd, you get about say what 5 or 6 really good teams. You start to go down the ranks. Teams just trying to work up, trying to make themselves better. That's why they enter these sort of tournaments. And so it is interesting. I think if I asked that question to a few other people, it would just be get out of playoffs or just win. But it's not to make contacts. It's not to elevate themselves in the scene. So it'll be interesting to see what other people have to say. That I really like your perspective from it. And now, can you tell me a bit about yourself as a player and a captain?
Well, I've been playing CS for about like 2.5 years now, and like I've always really kept the sort of competitive vibe going because I used to play a game called Blacklight Retribution. Like when before that was dying, I used to play that quite a bit competitively, and sort of I've always liked the aspect of being in a team. Like I've always enjoyed being like one part of this big working mechanism. So I've sort of kept on teams from the very beginning when I started playing. So in like the 2 years, I've won maybe what, like probably about a handful of like events and stuff. And just in general, like as a player, I tend to be very like passive. I tend to judge situations of what's happening. I don't tend to like rush into things.
Yeah, so would you
Which
say you're probably a mid-round caller for your team, sort of someone who can take a look back at the situation while everyone else is sort of in the moment?
Yep. Well, I always like take advantage. I have the point of experience in the game where I can sort of understand what people are doing at a certain point. So like there have been times where I've called something without actually knowing the full information. So I've called it to myself and then I check it and they're there. Which is why I sometimes my teammate the joke that I'm wall hacking because I tend to realize the stupidest things, and yeah, I tend to get a very good read on people. So it takes me like 5 or 6 rounds before I come into my like true IGL element, as it were, where I can suddenly just start to be like, yeah, they're playing two here or they're playing one here, and this is what they smoke and when they smoke it.
Yeah, I mean that's for a lot of IGLs. They can't instantly just obviously a lot of these teams you don't have any previous demos, you never played against them, so it's gonna take a few rounds to get into it and realize okay they're doing this, they're doing that. It's nearly impossible to read just straight off the first gun round what they're trying to do. So I mean that's what a lot of IGLs I think would say would be like it takes me about 6 rounds to get into it. You know we may have won a couple, we may have lost a couple, but by then I'm starting to read the game well.
That's what I like about sharing the IGL position with Rat, though, is that it means that I can focus less on calling in the sort of early rounds where I'm not 100% sure what's happening. So he'll call like a couple defaults for me, call the pistol round, he'll call like an anti-eco or whatever, just so I can focus on what's happening. And then after that, I just take over and I'm just like, bam, 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 we're doing this, this, this. And like our default after the first few rounds isn't the default as the same as it was originally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a different type of default. So you're just going into default, which is 2-1-2. Yeah, and switching it up, going 3-1-1, something like
Yeah,
that.
just looking at where people are playing and just adapting to the situation.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into the next question. This is a question I was sort of toying with whether I wanted to put this on in or not, but I kind of want to probe teams and see if they'll give me something from this. What do you think teams you're playing against have to watch out against you?
What to watch out for? Well, as I said earlier, we're very like in terms of how we switch up our style, we're an incredibly unpredictable team. So like even looking at our like previous demos to see like for example, the one you probably most want to look at is probably the CT side, like looking where we play and such. But not the CT side, the T side to see like our executes and such. But we change what we're doing like completely depending on what our opponents are doing.
Yeah,
And depending on how extreme they're doing it, depends on how quickly we do it. So on one game, hell, we might just take mid control every round, or like, and then maybe the next game, because we find out that they're stacking mid because they've watched a demo of ours, we instead just decide just to hit hard and fast every single round. Like that's something that I think would just make us very annoying to play against. It's just how like you can't really judge us from our previous games because we'll just tailor our playstyle to play against you.
yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to the next question. Outside of RDYUP GG, what do you think your team ceiling is? Where do you think you can reach as a team?
Well, at the least we want to make our names like within the UKCS scene, obviously, and then we want to try our best to win everything or anything that we can enter. In reality, like we just want to move forward. Like we want to get the contacts down. We want to get everything just rolling. You know, we want to get our names out there. We want to get a scrim partner. We just want to improve with the competition, as it were, because CS right now is at a really, really good place. Everyone's really good, so it's quite hard to break into the scene, as it were. So ideally, we're going to be entering stuff like ESEA Open, as well as like attending like UK LAN and stuff, just to see how we perform against these better players. And as we do that, we can sort of, so I guess yeah, we're just a very like unpredictable team in general. Like we change what we're doing depending on the situation, what's happening in the game, which just makes us extremely annoying just to play against and deal with.
Yep. All right. Final question then. Are you guys ready for RDYUP GG?
Um, I mean, the past couple weeks been kind of rough for us. Like we sort of lost the mentality of winning. And now that we've lost a couple games, like, not gonna lie, we lost them quite badly, like 16-5, 16-4.
Yeah.
You know? But now we're feeling like quite motivated and hopeful, and we've got like the mentality of winning again. Like when we first started out, we had this like big mentality, like, oh shit, we need to prove ourselves and whatever.
Yeah.
And like as we sort of started winning like 16-1, 16-2, we just like sort of lost that mentality and dipped.
Yeah.
Now I think we're back to that mentality again. Like we want to win.
Yeah, I mean that's what you need to have going into a tournament. You need to have that mentality that you can win it even when you're down. And I mean, I really like what sort of you're saying to me during this interview, especially a lot of your team starts like they've got good mentalities going into this. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys do. Viper UK have their first game on Sunday in division. What division are you guys in? I think it is.
Number one.
You are in division number 1, featuring Mecha Esports, Hunters Unts, The Logical, Snakebite Gaming, Letters, can't say the name, Solar Esports, Incendiary Esports, and Team Icarus. Their first game will be on Sunday. Make sure to check them out on the ReadyUp Twitch channel, readyup.gg, or twitch.tv/readyupgg. And now, make sure to check out my Twitter, @RoyRogue. What is your Twitter, Alias, so people can follow you as
At
well?
EcoFrags.
Yep. I hope you enjoyed this team player profile. If you want any questions added or anything done, please put something in the comments, tweet at me, and we'll see you for the next one, guys. Thank you for joining us.